Okay, so today we will be learning about the real number system, and we have three different classifications that we're going to go over with numbers. We are going to classify our numbers as whole numbers, as integers, and as rational numbers. So let's first talk about the characteristics of each classification. So let's talk about the smallest classification, the whole numbers. Now, the whole numbers are numbers that are positive numbers, and it includes the number 0. So we have numbers that are whole, positive, and 0. So let's go ahead and look at our number line, and let's go ahead and write some whole numbers. So we know that it includes the number 0, and my whole numbers are going to be to the right of the 0 because they're positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are my whole numbers. Now I can also go ahead and include other examples of whole numbers, such as 20 or 10. We know that 0 is a whole number. 1, 252. So any number that is whole, meaning not a fraction, not a decimal, and it is positive. Those are whole numbers. Now let's talk about our next classification. Now integers, they're a little bit of a bigger group because it includes the whole numbers, but it also includes their opposites. So the integers are all of the whole numbers and their opposites. So it includes the positives as well as the negatives. So let's go ahead and include some negatives in our number line. So we have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So now if I hide this part of the number line, these are only my whole numbers. When I look at my entire number line, all of those are integers. They include the whole numbers as well as their opposites. So let's go ahead and write a couple more examples. If we go to our little integers tab, we know that they include whole numbers as well as their opposites. So positive and negative whole numbers. Still no decimals, still no fractions, okay? So right now our number line is representing the integers. So now let's talk about our last classification, our rational numbers. Rational numbers can be expressed as fractions. Any number that can be represented as a fraction. This also includes the terminating and repeating decimals. So any number that can be written as a fraction. So the rational numbers also include the whole and integers, but they're whole numbers. How come they can be written as a fraction? Remember that any whole number can be written as a fraction if you put a 1 as a denominator. So any whole number or integer can be expressed as a fraction if you put a 1 over it. So whole numbers and integers are also rational numbers. Now let's go ahead and put some other rational numbers in our number line. If I were to graph 1.5, that is a decimal, and it would go in between the 1 and the 2 for 1.5. I can also have negative 3.5, so that will be between the -3 and the -4. I could also graph 4 1/2. See, I could also include fractions and decimals in my number line. So my number line right now includes all rational numbers. I have the whole numbers, the integers, and the rationals, including the fractions and decimals. Now I know sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand, so let's go with a school example. let's imagine that this small representation, the small circle, represents the math students in Ms. Diaz's class. The next circle represents the students in 7th grade, and the next circle represents the students at Hudson Bend. All of the students in Ms. Diaz's class are 7th graders, and all 7th graders are part of Hudson Bend Middle School. But it doesn't work the other way. Not every student in Hudson Bend is a 7th grader, because we have 6th and 8th grade as well. And not all 7th grade students are part of Ms. Diaz's class, because we also have other math teachers. So that is the same way that our real number system works. The whole numbers are also integers and are also rational numbers. But not all rational numbers can be integers, because the fractions and decimals cannot be integers. And not all integers can be whole numbers, because the negative ones cannot be whole numbers. Now, if you need another visual representation, you can look at your other side of the notes. It just has more examples. And again, it includes the same thing. Whole numbers are positives, including the number 0. Integers include the whole numbers and their opposites, so it includes these two circles. And the rational numbers includes the whole numbers, the integers, as well as the fractions and decimals, okay? So again, a whole number can be an integer and can be a rational number, but not all rational numbers can be integers. You cannot include the fractions and decimals. And not all integers can be whole numbers, because you cannot include the negative ones. Okay, so if you look at your notes, you're also going to have some descriptions and some examples. And this is our rational numbers review. Thank you.